Unexpected opportunities can have varied results, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worst. In this case, it would happen to be the former. Hello folks, and welcome back to another video. This unexpectedly large collection of trains began on June 3rd, 2025. I came out to Worthington, Ohio, specifically at the Park Road Railroad crossing, in hopes of catching Norfolk Southern 276, which had one of two vandalized Norfolk Southern locomotives in its consist, specifically NS 1000, with red, white, and blue painted stripes. A southbound would grace the Sandusky district shortly after I arrived, which is the ever-elusive NS 266, a daily intermodal train that comes out of Ashland Avenue Yard in Chicago off of the BNSF for Norfolk Southern's Rickenbacker Yard in Columbus, Ohio. BNSF power is regular on this train, and today was no exception. Another southbound was closely following behind the NS 266 from the previous scene. While I didn't get the symbol of this southbound Norfolk Southern mixed freight train, I have reason to believe it's NS 179, a daily job that comes out of Bellevue, Ohio for Irondale, Alabama, with one of the newer AC-44 C6Ms on point, NS 4904. With a solo Dash 9 on the head end, yet another southbound would follow behind the NS 179, that being a southbound empty coke train that I unfortunately didn't get the symbol of either. southbound parade would wrap up as soon as another one approached on the radar, that being NS 28N, the daily Chicago, Illinois to Charlotte, North Carolina intermodal train, with an NS AC 44 C6M on the point that was rebuilt from the core of a BNSF-9. With my time running short, the first northbound of the day would show up on the Sandusky District, that being a mixed freight train. This would prove to be another mystery train because I didn't get the symbol of this one either, but I have reason to believe it's the counterpart to the 179 I saw earlier, NS 178, coming from Irondale, Alabama for Bellevue, Ohio. Later on in the day, I would make my way down to the Central Ohio Model Railroad Club to participate in the operating session that was being held that day. While I was taking a break, I would end up catching another symbolless mystery train, that being a southbound empty coal train going down the Sandusky District. mind seeing some headlights at the Route 161 railroad crossing in Linworth, Ohio as I was driving home later that night would bring me to this catch. Traveling up the Columbus subdivision in the blue hour was CSX M634, a daily Columbus, Ohio to Selkirk, New York mixed freight train, with a small cut of manifest on the front and a large cut of trash on the back. A couple of days later, on June 5th, 2025, I would return to the Route 161 railroad crossing in Linworth, Ohio, as there were two trains traversing the Columbus subdivision that were of interest to me, a G779 and an L457. After 30 minutes of waiting, a northbound's headlights would appear on the Columbus subdivision, belonging to a loaded coal train, specifically CSX C632, on an as-needed journey from Peach Creek, West Virginia, back to the Indiana Harbor Belt interchange in Gibson, Indiana. With a flared SD-70 Mac on point, one of the trains of interest would then make its way south 20 minutes later, that being the G779 mentioned earlier, which runs on an as-needed basis out of North Baltimore, Ohio, for Richmond, Fulton, Virginia. After the G779 faded from view, I would wait a little while longer for the L457 that was coming up behind it, but realized that it would take longer than expected. After seeing some reports of action on the Norfolk Southern Sandusky District, I decided to break off. After seeing reports of a Norfolk Southern northbound grain train stopping at Park Road with NS 4822 in the lead, I decided to move over to the Sandusky District and get pictures of 4822. As 4822 was idling away, Norfolk Southern Intermodal Train 28N would fly its way south on the other track, on another daily run between Chicago, Illinois and Charlotte, North Carolina, allowing me to get this interesting shot of both trains meeting each other. After about 20 more minutes of waiting and talking to another local rail fan, 4822 was eventually given the green light and started to get back on the move again. The train 4822 was in command of was Norfolk Southern 51E, an as-needed empty grain train that runs from Radford, North Carolina to Maumee, Ohio. With the locomotive carrying the slogan, "Moving the weight of the world," now out of reach, the weight of the world continues to move. One more southbound would make an appearance on the Sandusky District before I had to break off, which I have reason to believe is Norfolk Southern 18W, a daily Bellevue, Ohio to Winston-Salem, North Carolina mixed freight train. Once again, later that day, I would make my way down to the Central Ohio Model Railroad Club to participate in the operating session being held that day. During the beginning of my stay, a Norfolk Southern southbound would make its way down the Sandusky District, that being a Symbolist Mystery Mixed Freight Train, with an AC-44 C6M on point that was rebuilt from the core of an old BNSF-9. A little while later, I would catch one more southbound down the Sandusky District, that being the train that opened this video, NS 266, a daily intermodal train that comes off of BNSF in Ashland Avenue Yard in Chicago, bound for Norfolk Southern's Rickenbacker Yard in Columbus, Ohio, with two BNSF Pumpkin GEs leading the way. After catching the ever-elusive 266 once again, I would then make my way back inside and continue the operating session, and I didn't see any other trains for the rest of the night, which is where we now conclude another video. I never expected the collection of trains to be as large as it was at the beginning of the month, but sometimes that's just the way that it plans out, and I'm glad that it did that way. If you enjoy this video, consider checking out some other ones of mine. Leave a like or a comment down below to share your thoughts, subscribe if you're new, and tap the notifications bell if you want to be notified when a new video gets posted on the channel just like this. Until next time, this is All Ohio Rail Fan, signing off.